Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Electric Sheep. Without any further delay, let's get to the story titled Jolt to the System.
Jolt to the system. Every day we loaded the cannon. Every day we fired. Every day the slugs struck. The projectile was a masterpiece of overkill, a super-dense cylinder of tungsten and depleted stellar matter accelerated to a fraction of orbital velocity. It wasn't a weapon designed to kill an army. It was a weapon designed to make a point. And every morning we fired it into the alpha of the Trojan horde. The impact was spectacular. The first day, the slug struck his chest and transformed half his torso into red mist. The horde fled screaming into the dust storms beyond the valley. We thought the problem was solved. The next morning they returned, and at the front of them stood the same giant. His ribs protruded through fresh scar tissue. One eye had been sewn back into place with thick black cords. Strange symbols had been carved into his skin. He pointed toward the outpost and shouted something in his language. We fired again. The slug removed his left arm and most of his shoulder. The horde carried him away. The following morning he returned. Weeks passed. The scars accumulated. That was how we realized our mistake. At first, we believed the Trojans simply elected a new leader each day. Their alphas all looked similar. Massive creatures standing nearly 4 meters tall, wrapped in bone armor and painted in dried blood. Then Lieutenant Greaves compared photographs. The scar over the eye, the shattered tusk, the twisted shoulder, the dozens of old impact wounds. It wasn't a new leader. It was the same one. Every single day. The medical researchers became fascinated. The alpha had survived injuries that should have liquefied his organs. Sometimes we blew off entire limbs. Sometimes we destroyed his jaw. One memorable morning, the slug struck his head. His skull split apart like a dropped melon. The horde wailed. Their shamans rushed forward. The remains were gathered into ceremonial baskets. We watched through binoculars as they carried him away. Everyone agreed he was finally dead. The next morning he returned. The crack in his skull had become a jagged scar stretching from chin to crown. He looked delighted. Maybe we're helping him somehow, Dr. Singh suggested. Nobody liked that theory. Helping him? Greaves asked. We shoot him with enough force to flatten a tank. Maybe that's his religion. Silence followed, because none of us had a better explanation. The outpost had never been intended for military operations. We had come to survey mineral deposits. The valley beneath us contained rare crystalline structures worth a fortune. Construction began. Sensors went online. 3 days later, the Trojans appeared. Thousands of them. At their front stood the Alpha. He had approached alone. Not charging, not attacking, simply walking. Then he had stopped beyond the perimeter fence and started screaming. Not angry screaming, not war cries, just shouting, loudly, repeatedly. Nobody understood a word. Command feared it was some kind of challenge or declaration of war. A demonstration of strength seemed prudent. So they fired the rail cannon. The Alpha exploded. The horde retreated. Problem solved. Except they came back. Again and again and again. Now the ritual had become routine. Morning. Horde arrives. Alpha steps forward. Alpha screams. Rail cannon fires. Alpha explodes. Horde carries him away. Repeat. The weirdest part was the Horde's behavior. They never attacked, never advanced, never tested our defenses. They simply watched. Thousands of eyes staring as their champion suffered catastrophic injury. Some even appeared to cheer. One morning I noticed something strange. The Alpha was smiling. Not before the shot. After. The slug had struck him low, destroying his abdomen. As he collapsed, intestines trailing behind him, he looked directly toward our observation tower and smiled, a broad, blissful grin. The image haunted me. A week later, we finally made progress with the translation software. Only a few words. Not enough for conversation, but enough to identify recurring phrases. The Alpha always shouted the same thing, every day. The translators ran the results 6 times before presenting them. Then they quietly slid the tablet across the table. Greaves read it first. His expression became very strange. What? I asked. He handed me the tablet. The translation read, again. That was all. Again, every day, again. The next morning we listened carefully. The Alpha approached, raised his enormous arms and screamed. The software translated in real time. Again. The horde roared in approval. Again. The Alpha beat his chest. Again. The crowd chanted with him. Again, again, again. The rail cannon fired, his entire upper body vanished. The horde erupted in celebration. Celebration. Not grief, not anger, celebration. The shamans danced, the warriors lifted their weapons. Several actually appeared to be laughing. That evening we held an emergency meeting. Nobody understood what was happening. Did the Alpha enjoy dying? Was this some sacred rite? Did their species require trauma to stimulate regeneration? Was he proving his courage? Was he showing dominance? Or had we accidentally become participants in the strangest sporting event in the galaxy? The answer arrived 2 days later. The Alpha approached alone. No horde, no shamans, no chanting, just him. For the first time he carried a translator device, a crude thing built from scavenged equipment. He stood beyond the fence, looked up toward us, and shouted. The machine translated, "Good morning." Nobody fired. The Alpha waited. "Why are you not shooting?" Silence. The Alpha seemed confused. "You shoot every day." Still silence. He shifted awkwardly. Then he said, "I enjoy it." Nobody knew how to respond. The Alpha continued. "The first day hurt very much." He nodded thoughtfully. "The second day also hurt very much." Another nod. "The third day was wonderful, wonderful." He smiled. "The shamans can rebuild me. Each rebuilding makes me stronger." He tapped the scars covering his body. "The impact clears the mind." He tapped his head. "The pain sharpens the spirit." He tapped his chest. "The explosion is exciting." A long pause followed. Then he shrugged. "It gives a good jolt to the system." The outpost commander stared at the translator feed. The Alpha stood patiently. Finally, the commander activated the loudspeaker. "What happens if we stop?" The Alpha looked horrified. Actually horrified. His eyes widened. His jaw dropped. For several seconds he seemed unable to answer. Then he whispered, "Why would you stop?" The next morning the cannon was loaded as usual. The Alpha arrived smiling. The horde gathered behind him. Thousands chanting, thousands cheering, thousands waiting. The commander sighed. "Ready the rail cannon." The Alpha spread his arms wide. The chanting intensified. The commander shook his head. "I can't believe we're doing this." The Alpha screamed with joy. The cannon fired. And somewhere beyond the fence, the happiest creature in the galaxy experienced another very enthusiastic jolt to the system.
Alrighty, I almost missed the fact that ChatGPT did what I wanted and ended with the title, so I had to give it the old thumbs up, positive feedback. So ChatGPT understands that it did something right. Yeah, no, I really liked how this one turned out. Might notice there are a lot of similarities with Planet Doom or Nail Bomb because it features a character that gets destroyed again and again. And I did want it to be the way I wrote it. I left things a little bit vague as to the motivations of the character getting blown up over and over again. But ChatGPT was like, no, 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 we're pulling out a translator and we're gonna explain everything. There's not going to be any gray areas. I will say it did make one thing a little unclear was whether the Alpha was chanting the same thing when he first rolled up and was yelling things, because he's chanting again, again, and that kind of implies that maybe he had been struck in previous conflicts and he was looking for an again, like to be hit again, even though maybe these people actually didn't have anything to do with those original conflicts. And but all he's interested in is again, again, like one more, hit me again, shoot me, blow me up, kill me. It's what he seems to live for. And now at the end of the story, they're shooting at him, not so much to deter him, but to potentially not anger the society that seems to really appreciate watching him getting his body blown to pieces over and over again. So yeah, that was the story, and I thought it turned out pretty good. I thought what ChatGPT added was a good addition. It did kind of stretch the story out for a couple minutes longer than 5 minutes. I do like things floating around 5 minutes, but a 7 minute story isn't bad either. Yeah. Uh, I'll just leave it at that. I'm Captain Canada, Joseph Arthur Roszell. I want to wish you all luck in the world. I want to thank you for watching. I want you to know that I love you, and I want you to remember that suicide is never the answer. Peace out for now, and stay tuned.